This story isn't just about a notebook or a sketch. It's about how even the smallest voices can make the biggest impact. When a young journalist handed President Donald Trump a simple, worn notebook, neither of them realized that inside lay a message that would touch hearts across the nation. This isn't about politics, it's about courage, hope, and how one child's dream can inspire millions. It was a bright, warm morning in Washington, D.C. President Donald Trump had just finished a press conference discussing the latest reforms in education. As reporters began packing up their equipment, a soft, earnest voice called out, "Mr. President, one last thing," said a young woman, no older than 24, standing at the edge of the crowd. Her hands were wrapped tightly around a brown, well-worn notebook. "I'm Elara Quinn, a junior reporter with the Liberty Voice." She introduced herself, her voice a mix of nerves and excitement. "I've followed your speeches since I was 16. There was something captivating about her presence, not just her sincerity, but the way she held that notebook, as if it contained more than mere pages. "I know this isn't standard for press briefings," she continued, "but I've drawn something and I think you should see it." Trump leaned forward with curiosity and accepted the notebook. The cover featured a detailed sketch of the White House, meticulously drawn. "Did you make this?" he asked. Elara replied, "But there's one sketch inside. It's more than just a drawing." Trump flipped through the pages. The first few were filled with portraits, veterans, children, people from rallies, each one drawn with remarkable skill. But then he stopped. He stared at a pencil sketch of a small boy in a hospital gown, smiling gently at the viewer. The room fell quiet. "Who is this?" Trump asked. "That's my little brother Mason," Elara said softly, her voice trembling. "He wanted to share a message." Trump looked closer. The boy's eyes seemed full of life, hope, and resilience. Elara explained that Mason, only 10 years old, had passed away from leukemia the previous year. But before his passing, he asked her to deliver his message to someone who could make a difference. "Why me?" Trump asked. "Because he watched your speeches," Elara replied. "Even after exhausting treatments, he found strength in you." Trump's gaze returned to the sketch. Beneath the drawing, in Mason's shaky handwriting, were 5 words: "Be strong for the weak." Era's eyes glistened with tears. He wanted to remind leaders what real strength means. Trump nodded solemnly. "This means something. Thank you." "Elara." As security moved in to escort the press away, Trump raised a hand. "Let her stay. I want to know everything." Elara followed him into the Oval Office, notebook in hand. For the next 5 minutes, she told the story of Mason's courage, how he'd faced treatment with a smile, created drawings for nurses, and inspired everyone around him. Even though his body was weak, his spirit remained unbroken. Before his death, Mason asked Elara to use words and art to represent children who fight battles unseen. "You can carry it farther than anyone," she told Trump. "You have the platform, the audience, the reach." Trump tapped the notebook. "What do you want me to do?" "Honor his words," Elara said. "Help kids like Mason be seen? Maybe build something in his name." The following day, the White House press office released a photo of Trump holding the notebook, accompanied by a note. "Strength isn't in how loud we speak, but in how many silent voices we carry," inspired by Mason. The story spread like wildfire. #BeStrongForTheWeak began trending online. Media outlets scrambled to learn about Mason, and Elara found herself thrust into the spotlight. But Trump wasn't done. He invited Elara to appear alongside him at a youth cancer fundraiser, where he announced the creation of the Mason Quinn Pediatric Courage Center, a facility dedicated to children fighting life-threatening illnesses. Elara stood in awe as the plaque was unveiled. "Be strong for the weak." She placed the first ceremonial stone, whispering to Mason, "You did it." Construction began quickly, and soon the halls were filled with children's laughter and art. Inspired by Mason's sketches, Trump personally supported an art therapy initiative, encouraging kids nationwide to draw bravery, hope, and love. Thousands of submissions poured in from schools, children, and even soldiers. The movement, now called Draw Courage, showcased how art can give a voice to the unheard. Elara received letters from families worldwide. sharing stories of hope inspired by Mason. One letter told of a boy fighting cancer who drew a sketch saying, "I'm strong too, like Mason. You gave me hope." Despite criticism from some media outlets questioning motives, Elara stayed focused. She realized this was never about fame. It was about honoring Mason and giving strength to children everywhere. Years later, the Mason Quinn Pediatric Courage Center opened fully. Every wall displayed artwork from children, veterans, and families. Mason's original sketch was preserved under soft lights. Elara walked through the center with Trump, who said, "This place will outlive us both." In the art room, a child in a wheelchair handed her a drawing of Mason flying among stars. "Do you think he's really up there?" the boy asked. Elara smiled. "I know he is." One quiet afternoon, Elara found a note tucked behind Mason's final sketch. "If people feel forgotten, draw them. That way, they'll feel seen." This inspired a new initiative called Draw the Invisible, pairing children with veterans, seniors, and others who felt overlooked. They listened to stories, then captured them in art, not as broken, but as brave. Months later, the Draw Courage Gallery in New York displayed Mason's collection. Hundreds attended, including politicians, celebrities, and the public. Trump reflected on the experience. The smallest voice, when honest, can become the conscience of a nation. Mason's legacy lived on in the children's laughter, their art, and in the countless lives touched by his courage. As Elara sketched Mason, one last time, imagining him grown, she wrote, "You never grew up, but your dream did." Outside, children played, drew, and healed, and somewhere in the sound of crayons against paper, Mason truly lived on. What we learned from Mason's story is powerful. Real strength doesn't come from power or status. It comes from courage, hope, and the ability to inspire others even in the face of the impossible. One small voice, one drawing, can change the world. What would you do if you could carry someone's dream forward? Share your thoughts in the comments, and remember, every silent voice has a story worth hearing.